Hi, this is Whitney Martin, and I did the weekly lecture over chapter 11, and I picked out the points that I thought were the most important that we needed to know to help my classmates with this week. I want to start with talking about the family members of the first people are the first people that we communicate with. They're the first people that we see, that we talk to. Even if you're adopted, your adopted family is your family, and so your first interactions with them are your first memories. They teach us how to walk, how to talk, how to clothe ourselves. Families today are very diverse. Like I mentioned, adoption is really increased, which is great because there are a lot of children that need to be adopted, but yet a lot of people that might feel broken because their parents didn't want them or couldn't have them or couldn't afford whatever the situation was. Family stories are also brought up in this chapter. They're short stories shared within the family, maybe over history, kind of stuff that happened in the past to them. There's different types of stories: courtship, maybe stories about how your parents met, how your grandparents met, birth stories about how you were born, other people were born, what year they were born, maybe something happened, maybe there was something funny, maybe they got stuck on the side of the road and how to have the baby on the side of the road. Who knows? Those kind of stories are just funny and they seem to bond families. There's also stories of survival. Maybe you have relatives that were in the war, survived the Great Depression, just different things like that. Maybe how they came to America, how they found their job and how they survived and all that kind of stuff. Then the chapter goes on to talking about family communication patterns. There's a few that it talks about. I want to start with consensual, I think is how it's pronounced. They like to have conversation, like they openly talk and they're not afraid if what they say is gonna hurt someone, but maybe they can just talk through it. And it seems like a really just easygoing kind of family. Then it kind of takes another step to pluralistic, which is same, but they like to have debates over things, and things that might be said that might bother someone, they might debate over it. There's also protective, which is low on conversation. You won't see as much of this exchange of the ideas. So even though the conversation might be going, people might be holding things back that they're thinking about. And then there's laissez-faire family pattern, which I've never heard of. But I think it says it's low in conversation, but there's not much emotion. So there's not really probably much thought going into the conversation, probably not getting really in depth on how someone is feeling. If someone's had a bad day, it's just kind of like, hey, how are you doing? And that person just says fine, and that's where the conversation ends. And that doesn't seem like where a very good family should be in a pattern. My question to the class is, what pattern do you see that your family is in? Or maybe your if you're close with a friend's family, what kind of pattern do they have? Then the book talks on about step families. And I never really thought about the communication patterns in step families because it's intertwining a lot of different ideas and different ways that people communicate, and I'm sure that is very hard at first. The book gives an example of a picture of the Brady Bunch, and I love the Brady Bunch. I grew up watching the show, and I never really thought anything of it, but they do come across different problems with it in the family. If you know the story, there's a mother that is widowed and has 3 girls, or 3 or 4, and then the father figure also has sons, and they have a maid, and throughout this series they communicate, they come across different issues. Sometimes the girls want to do this, sometimes the boys want that, they get in fights, and I never really thought anything of it but that is a good example. Within step families, I'm sure they have to set new rules, privacy, just all the basic steps to just being in a normal setting that everyone in the family feels comfortable in. And then the book kind of ends with parental favoritism and parental conflict. Parental favoritism is kind of like if you feel like your mom likes your brother more, or your whatever, just if your parent likes your sibling more than you. It can drive a wedge between different siblings, and I know that it can cause conflict for years, and it just really shouldn't. If that's the only issue, if you think that your parents like another sibling more, maybe you should ask them, like bring it out, and not just keep it inside and just keep that as a thought. And then interparental conflict. It's deemed as one of the hardest family communication challenges. It has long-term effects on both parents and the children. That is really hard. If you can't get over something that happened in the past, I really encourage you, if you have any issues with your parents, to try to resolve it. I understand that there's different cases where that's not the option, but if it is, and if it's over something small, the conflict was over something small, I definitely agree to try to fix that and get the relationship back. I really liked this chapter. I thought it was really interesting. It actually kept my attention pretty well, and I found really great key points to it, and I'm hoping that this video will help others. Thank you. Bye.